Hello, it's Lynn Ann Galloway, and I have been recovering from fibromyalgia. I would like to say that probably I was diagnosed with it with 20 some years ago, and I just thought I would chat about the signs and symptoms of fibromyalgia. Uh, Being as number one, I've experienced it. Number two, I am a registered nurse. So I would say probably pain is the biggest one, and having pain. And it's interesting. Some days you have a lot of pain, some days you don't have as much pain. And depending on every person, I find is different. I have a group, and if you like to join it on Facebook, everybody has a little bit different experience. So it might be different for you than it is for someone else. However, pain is definitely one of the contributors to it. And usually you don't know. There seems to be no reason why you have the pain. And that is usually why you end up going to the doctor. Or for me, I actually had constant headaches and across my shoulders. That's how mine originally was. And what happened was, because of the pain, you get into a chronic pain, and then you get into things like depression and anxiety. And the other thing that I would go to the doctor for was bladder infections, or what seemed like that bladder infections on a freak. I would go for that. So I ended up going to the doctor for a variety of different things. And then finally, I ended up going because of depression. They put me on an antidepressant, and I couldn't take it. I had some severe side effects and had to be hospitalized. And when I was getting off that, I kept asking for pain meds. And then one of the nurses suggested I go to the chiropractor. When I went there, I checked off all the things that, being it's the first time they do an assessment, all the things that was going on in the last 6 months. And it was neck pain, headaches, shoulder pain, pain in my hips. None of them all consistently, but off and on, the headaches most of the time, and bladder infections, and I wouldn't feel well, and I'd have some nausea, and I'd have some depression. I'd have numbness, hands that were cold, and Raynaud's syndrome on the end of my fingers. So there was a whole lot of things I checked off, and tiredness, being fatigued, really fatigued. So he suggested, the chiropractor actually suggested the one that I would go back to the doctor with the list and show it to him. And when I did that, then the doctor was like, okay, yes, let's do some things. Now, in 20 some years ago, they didn't have any tests specifically for fibromyalgia. And by the way, I don't really think they do too. There is one test that's available in some countries, and however, it's so far it's not been that reliable from what I can see in the research. But anyhow, back then, what most doctors do is rule out everything else, and if nothing else shows up, then for me back then, they did if you had more than 11 points out of the 17 trigger points, then you got diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and I think I have 15 of them. So that was how I got diagnosed, and my symptoms didn't change much because there wasn't, as you know, there isn't a lot to help. So, I would say that I would wake up in the morning feeling like, how I described it always was feeling like I was run over by a truck. I certainly had mornings were so difficult. It was so hard to get going in the morning because I would wake up with stiffness, and my hands would be swollen, my ring would be tight, I would be able to move it at all, and my hands would be like, it was hard to move them in and out because they're all swollen, and my feet would be swollen, would be hard to stand. I'd be super stiff. I'd have to go to the shower and have a hot shower and do some stretching exercises while I was in there to get myself going. So morning was terrible. I always said that I felt like I was run over by a truck in the morning. Mind you, I've never been run over by a truck, so I don't know, but it's just that it was so painful and difficult to get up in the morning and to get myself going. Fortunately, I had a great employer that was didn't require me to be in at a specific time. The other thing, of course, is there was the depression and the anxiety, and I got into panic attacks, and the mobility became an issue as well. I was able to, and I know you'll, I would, my legs would just quit working. And I don't know if some of you have felt that or not, but I mean, literally my husband had carried me out of a couple of stores, at Christmas time. Of course, we were going to a large, like a Costco, and no place to sit down to rest. And I literally couldn't take another step. I sat in the ground. He had to basically pick me up and carry me out. And that happened on more than one occasion. So you become like, you don't like to go out because you're not sure how you're going to be. I'll get into anxiety, in which I could, I go into a group and I wouldn't be able to, I go into a panic attack and have to leave immediately. So those are some of the things that I had as signs and symptoms of fibromyalgia. Some people get numbness. I just get it more as like a nose. My fingers go white and there's numbness in there. I haven't experienced that. Some people also get some twitching. I have experienced that in the past. And if you're wondering why I'm saying in the past, or I used to, or back when, it is because that I have found a way to manage my symptoms so that I can enjoy life. I can get around and do things, and I do. I mean, I probably have more energy now than I did before. In the last 10, 15 years, I've learned how to do things and get myself healthy again so that I can function well. And if you want to know anything more about that, I do have some more YouTube, so sign up videos, sign up for the channel for that, or if you can contact me directly, and I will be happy to share more of that. Have an awesome day.